OpenAI's profit margins are collapsing because a dollar store AI model just beat GPT-4 at its own game. And the scary part? This wasn't supposed to happen for another 5 years. I'm Mark, and if you've been following AI pricing, you've probably noticed something weird. The models that cost a fraction of a penny per token are starting to outperform the ones that used to dominate. Claude's getting smarter, Llama's getting cheaper, and GPT-4, the gold standard, is quietly being benchmarked into the dust by models you've probably never heard of. Here's what's actually happening and why it matters for everyone. 2 years ago, the economics of AI were simple. You paid for quality. GPT-4 cost 30 times more per token than GPT-3.5, but you got better reasoning, fewer hallucinations, and actual reliability. Enterprises paid the premium because the alternative, using a weaker model, meant slower work, more errors, more human cleanup. The math was brutal but clear. Pay more upfront, save money on mistakes. But something shifted in late 2023 and early 2024. Smaller labs, Anthropic, Meta, even startup teams, started releasing models that didn't follow the old scaling laws. They were smaller, cheaper to run, and through better training techniques, they matched or beat larger models on specific benchmarks. Llama 2 cost a fraction of what GPT for cost to serve. Claude's pricing dropped. And then Grok, Mixtral, and a dozen others showed up with wild performance-to-cost ratios. The market noticed, and it panicked. Here's the brutal economic truth. When a model that costs 1 penny per token does 85% of what a model costing 15 cents does, nobody buys the expensive one anymore. It doesn't matter if it's slightly better. It doesn't matter if it's marginally more reliable. The math just doesn't work. You're paying 15 times more for maybe a 15% improvement. That's not a feature, that's a ripoff. So enterprises started switching. Not because they wanted to, because their finance teams wouldn't let them not switch. A developer using GPT-4 for a straightforward coding task could just use Claude 3 Haiku or Llama 70B and pocket the savings. A customer service team using GPT-4 for email classification could use a fine-tuned open-source model and cut costs by 90%. The premium models didn't disappear, but their market share got carved up fast. OpenAI felt it first. Their per-token pricing on GPT-4 has dropped multiple times in the last year. They released GPT-4 Turbo, then GPT-4o, cutting prices aggressively to stay competitive. But here's the thing. When your entire business model is built on selling expensive models, and suddenly cheaper models do the job, your margins don't just shrink. They get obliterated. And it's not just OpenAI. Anthropic is burning through billions in funding. Google's Gemini is free or cheap to stay relevant. Even Meta's Llama, which they give away, is putting pressure on the entire market because it proves that you don't need a closed ecosystem and $1 billion training budget to build something genuinely useful. The second wave of this is even more brutal: specialization. You don't need GPT-4 for everything. You need a small, cheap model that's good at one thing. A model fine-tuned for medical diagnosis. A model trained on your company's data for customer support. A model optimized for coding. These specialized models are cheaper, faster, and often more accurate than a massive general-purpose model trying to do everything. So what's actually getting killed here isn't GPT-4. It's the idea that one giant model can own the entire market. It's the bet that bigger and more expensive always wins. It's the premium model business model itself. Think about this from an investor's perspective. You have two paths. Path 1. Pour billions into training massive models. Hope you're the one company that gets to sell them at a premium. Pray that nobody else figures out how to build something almost as good for 1/10 of the cost. Path 2. Build smaller, specialized models. Open source them or license them cheaply, and win through volume and ecosystem lock-in instead of pricing power. Path 2 is winning, and it's winning fast. The companies that are adapting are the ones building infrastructure and platforms, not just models. Anthropic's API is becoming the standard for people who want reliability. Meta's Llama ecosystem is becoming the standard for people who want freedom and customization. OpenAI is pivoting hard into agents and GPT store and enterprise solutions, basically trying to sell the experience and integration, not just the raw model. But the fundamental shift is this. The era of the premium monolithic AI model is over. What's replacing it is a fragmented market where you pick the right tool for the job, and the job usually doesn't require GPT-4 anymore. Here's where this gets interesting for you. If you're building anything with AI, this is actually good news. Your options are better, cheaper, and more flexible than they've ever been. But it also means the companies that bet everything on selling one expensive model are in real trouble. And that reshuffles the entire AI landscape. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, they're all reckoning with this right now. The winners will be the ones that figure out how to compete on something other than raw model size and pricing power. The losers will be the ones that assumed their model would be too good to beat, too expensive to replace, too entrenched to disrupt. History says they're wrong. History says cheaper, good enough always wins in the end. If you want to actually stay ahead of how AI is shifting, not just the hype, but the actual economics and strategy that matter, subscribe. I break down these shifts every few days, and this is the kind of thing most people miss until it's already happened.